Hi Pisces, this is your astrological prognosis for the year 2012 with me, Lada, from astrolada.com. And as you all know, probably if you've been following me before, I do my prognosis quite differently. I try and do them the way professionals do them. And because a lot of you just are aware of their sun sign, and this prognosis is actually very much for people who have also who want to know the fuller picture. It's not only the sun sign, and the sun sign would be if you're born, say, February and part of April. If you're born part of February and part of March, you're probably your sun sign is in Pisces. You know, everyone knows this. Everyone knows their sun sign. But the sun sign is not nearly as personal as the moon and ascendant signs are. And the ascendant sign in particular is the most personal one because it shows the body, it shows the self. And the ascendant sign changes its positions every 2.5 hours, so it's the most personal. Then the moon, and also the most superficial, but also the most personal. And the moon changes its position, its sign, every 2.5 days, and the sun only once a month. You know, like if you're born February, you're probably a Pisces or part of March, you know. But this is, I would particularly advise you find out what your ascendant sign and your moon sign is as well, and listen for the prognosis, especially about your ascendant sign, because this is how a professional astrologer will do it. When you go to him, he will calculate the positions of the planets according to your ascendant sign and also to the moon sign, because the moon sign is our emotional inner world, and women especially identify with the prognosis for the moon sign. But once you go to my website, astrolada.com, there is an ascendant sign and moon sign calculator there. And you can, once you put your time of birth and place of birth, just mark the exact degree and sign that your ascendant is. For instance, if your ascendant is at 3 degrees Pisces, write it down and listen if I mention in particular those 3 degrees of Pisces for the ascendant, for the moon, or if your moon is also in those 3 degrees, listen if I mention them. Or if it's, your ascendant or moon can be in Libra, for instance, and your sun can be in Pisces, and your moon can be in Gemini, But always make sure you always start first the prognosis for the year ahead by listening for the prognosis for your ascendant sign, because that's the most relevant one. And then listen for the moon sign and sun sign prognosis, and especially pay attention to them if I mention the exact degree of the moon sign or the exact day of your birth, because the sun, I don't give degrees for the sun, I give the birth, the day of the birth you are born, because, this shows where the sun was, the day of the birth. So, yeah, but if you don't have time, at least listen for the ascendant sign prognosis, and then quickly zoom through the moon and sun sign prognosis so you hear if the exact degree of your moon or sun is being mentioned there. So what if you have your ascendant, moon or sun in Pisces? Any one of those in Pisces. Well, how do we look at how life will be ahead? What are the future prognoses for 2012? Well, we pay attention to where planets Jupiter and Saturn are in relevance to the sign that we're doing the prognosis for, in this case to Pisces. Whether Jupiter is passing, and Jupiter takes 12 years to make a full circle, and this is the small hand of the hand. Jupiter is the small hand. Whatever it passes through, whatever sector of your life relative to the sign we're talking about, it will activate these areas of life with more ease. It will bring ease and expansion there. It will bring more joyful experience. It will bring, without having to put so much effort there, it will bring more awareness. Jupiter is a spiritual planet. It's a planet that brings light, that brings understanding into this area of life, more confidence. So things tend to happen with more ease there. And Jupiter has been in your 3rd house. Is it the third? Yes. Jupiter has been in the 3rd house from Pisces since June 2011, and it will stay there till June 2012. You see? Jupiter stays for 1 year in a place. And Jupiter's been expanding that area of your life. And 3rd house, from June 2011 to June 2012, 3rd house is to do with communications, with your mind. So maybe a lot of you it's expanded your network of people you communicate with. For instance, it happened to me last year that Jupiter was in my 3rd house, and it's still actually, So what happened is that when Jupiter passed there, I started doing Facebook, I started doing other social networks, Twitter, started doing newsletters. So those of you who want to promote themselves, who want to promote their business, who want to get in touch with others, that'd be a great time till June 2012. You have this opportunity to do it, to expand your circle of people and connections, It's also to do administrative kind of jobs, letters, posting, emails, posting, all these things that require the lower mind, the rational, logical mind to deal with. So your mind becomes much more witty and fast, and you also want to learn things. Third house is the house of learning things through your own effort, learning new skills. So Jupiter maybe brought a new opportunity and will continue to bring it to 2012 to learn something new, to expand your mind. And it's not so much learning new philosophy or new big ideas about life, answering the big questions of life. It's more to do with learning the basic technical things of life, new skills, So basically for a lot of educations or careers, third house is really good, like learning to read, to write, learning to knit, learning to, to do something technical, special, learning a new language. These are all things that require your logical mind to use. And Jupiter's been helping it. A third house is also the house of siblings. So maybe the affairs of the affairs in the life of your siblings, brothers, sisters, will be better. When Jupiter passed through my house, third house, I also said in another video, my brother's life got much better and our relationship improved. We started communicating better. His life sorted itself finally, So things started getting better for those for siblings as well. But again, on a more mundane level, for your life, it's your own communications, your own lower mind is more active, more curious. You become much more curious till June 2012. You become much more interested in daily affairs, everyday affairs. So maybe start watching the news if you haven't watched them till now, watching magazines, more gossips, what is happening around you. You want to have all the knowledge possible, to get your mind totally stimulated. Then you might be a bit like distracted, your mind all over the place, but it's expanding, And also it's media, when Jupiter came into my third house, I started doing those videos, So any one of you who has a similar business or who wants to reach to more people, who wants to do things that are connected to communication, to talking, to expressing yourself, expressing your ideas, being heard by others, reaching out to others to make a network, This is the time to do it till June 2012. And then Jupiter is passing from June 2012 till the summer of 2013, is going into your fourth house. And fourth house is the house of home and family. And Jupiter will expand this place. So maybe you add another member to your family. Or maybe you will, you expand your house. Maybe you renovate, build up a new extension to the house. Maybe the fourth house is house also of any kind of luxuries, vehicles as well as luxuries, So maybe you have a chance to buy a property or buy a new vehicle, a new car, to expand your opportunities there. Especially if your ascendant is in Pisces, you'll feel it well, Maybe relocate to a new place that makes you feel happier. Things will happen with ease when you're relocating. You'll not be feeling like the torture of having to move. With fourth house is your parents as well. You might get more in touch with your parents from the second part of 2012. Get more in touch with your roots, with your history, with your country of origin. Now Jupiter is in my fourth house this year. And what is happening is that I started studying the history of my people, of Bulgarian history of the Bulgarian. I started getting more in touch with my roots, spending more time with my parents, going back more often than normal, talking to them on Skype 5 times a day. I don't recommend too much expansion. Sometimes Jupiter is a bit too much for some things, but you might have benefits from selling a home as well. Jupiter will bring with ease and expansion. If you're trying to sell property or some land, you can do it positively now, or you can buy new property or land from the second part of 2012 and get benefit out of it. Domestic matters will be improved as well. It's also the fourth house is the lowest part of the horoscope. You see it's at the bottom, so it's a psychological foundation. That's why we connected to home and family, because our psychological foundation, safety place, starts from home and family. It starts from our abode, from our property, So when Jupiter goes there, you'll start feeling emotionally much more tolerant, much more happy with where you are and what you're doing. Jupiter brings this sense of ease in your emotional life. This is your emotional life, family life. So it will bring you this comfort and contentment inside of you. And you'll be feeling probably more happy spending more time at home, which is nothing bad actually. It's quite pleasant. I'm in this phase right now. I'm spending all the time at home and I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. Especially if your ascendant is in Pisces, That's when you'll feel it the most. And as well, yes, let's see where Saturn is now. This is what Jupiter is doing. This is where it brings ease and positivity. And let's go to the bad news. Saturn has been in your 8th house. And Saturn moves much slower than Jupiter. Where Saturn passes, it brings things through effort, it brings contraction, it brings more doubt, it brings more having to put more effort where it is more duties. So it's the hard taskmaster. While Jupiter is the good teacher that teaches us through giving us, through tolerance. Saturn is the teacher who punishes us if we don't do well, who is kind of really hard on us, brings us tests, much more tests, But it brings us also a backbone. If it wasn't for Jupiter, we'll be all like those sea creatures, like that don't have any backbone. But Saturn stays, and because Saturn is the hard taskmaster, and because life is hard on Earth than it's easier. So hard lessons are always longer than easy lessons and than fun experiences. So Saturn spends for 2.5 years, and it will stay in your 8th house till October 2012. So it went there in around 2010, and it started giving you lessons connected to 8th house, and it will stay till October 2012, and after that it will move further. But 8th house is the house of shared resources. So maybe your shared resources were constricted. Maybe your partner had a bit less financial stability than normal. Maybe he had to cut corners. Maybe your flatmate, because of flatmate you couldn't pay the rent, or something happened that you had to, somehow the people that you're sharing resources with, their resources were not available for you. And also, even if you tried to get a loan, maybe it was hard, and it will continue to be to October 2012 if your ascendant is in Pisces in particular, because it's especially relevant to ascendant and moon sign as well. And some of you will feel it with the sun sign, but usually it's weaker, but you will still feel it if your sun sign is Pisces. So basically restrictions and a bit more, having to put more effort into joint finances. If you're in a business partnership, maybe your business partner is having some financial struggles. 8th house is also the house of taxes, so make sure you sort out your taxes, because Saturn, again, it will test you, it will bring you, it will not let things slip away, If you haven't been honest with the money, with the taxes, with insurances, with anything that has to do with money from other people, you have to sort out maybe. Or maybe some of you who in the past year and a half or for another 10 months, maybe if you had someone that was owing you money and they were not giving it back, or it was very hard work for you getting back those money, being able to rely on others for support, being able to rely on, usually it's financial support, but it also can any kind of resources that you're used to, and you're kind of restricted, deprived from relying on other people's money, whether it's loans, bank loans, money owed to you by another person, money from your husband, from partner that is usually available to you. It's kind of restricted, and it stays like that to October 2012. This is on a more mundane level. But what happens on the more emotional, psychological level? What is the 8th house? Well, the 8th house in astrology is considered the house of death and transformations. So when Saturn is passing there once every 30 years for 2.5 years, we are faced to transform those compulsive fears or those compulsive habits that we have, which are controlling us and which are taking away our emotional freedom. So we'll be asked to overcome certain addictions maybe in your life. Maybe someone is smoking, and for others is drinking, for others is porn, who knows, you know. It doesn't have to be someone healthy, you know. It can be a person that is your addiction, who has control over you, who is not giving you emotional freedom. Maybe someone who calls you just for booty calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're so attracted to them. They have some magnetic power over you. You keep going there. When Saturn is passing there till 2012 October, you still have a chance to overcome your demons, you know, to overcome those you know, to overcome those attachments that have been keeping you from feeling emotionally free. And it's the 8th house is also the house of the battleground in astrology, we call it, because you're fighting with your demons here, you're overcoming your fears, you know, and it continues. Especially those of you who have their ascendant in Pisces will definitely feel it. Moon and Sun too, but ascendant is very strong, you know. And also you, after the end of 2012, October, from October, when Saturn comes out of the 8th house and goes into the 9th, you start feeling more powerful because you have given up attempting to control the things you cannot or should not. You know, this 8th house is trying to, you know, because those things that are controlling us, somehow we have to achieve mastery over ourselves, you know, so we don't let those other things control us, so to speak. So sometimes it's one of the hardest periods in our life when Saturn is in the 8th house compared to the ascendant, moon or sun, because we're overcoming those demons, those controlling things, that we're achieving self-mastery, you know. And very, very important part in life, time in life, very, very. So some of them, so you can be brought to the edge almost, you know, to the edge of maybe in the past 2 years you've been feeling it as well for another 10 months, being brought to the edge, like almost to look at the edge at the face of death, you know, at the crisis situations, and to overcome them, to overcome your fears, any kind of fears you have. Saturn makes you face them. Anyway, so basically on the mundane level, bad news for gold diggers for another 10 months. Or you cannot rely on emotional support or any resources from others much, but you can overcome your own addictions and your own any kind of things that are controlling you, you know. And particularly mentioning dates now, those of you who have their ascendant or moon from 0 to 4 degree in Pisces, so this is ascendant or moon sign, or those of you who are born from the 20th till the 23rd of February, you will be having the whole year 2012 Neptune influence. Neptune, it's here. It's at the very beginning of Pisces, Neptune. And what happens is that you can feel a bit less motivated, especially if it's your sun that is being affected, because the sun is your goals and direction in life, and Neptune dilutes everything. Neptune is like a fog, like an ocean and water, foggy, so it might dilute your ambition, your motivation. You might be disappointed with certain motivations you have, with certain goals in your life, and change direction, you know, let go of certain old things. So certain goals of you can be dissolved, because Neptune dissolves. And you might be confused as where you're headed in life. The sun is your direction in life. Also, if it's passing over your ascendant, you see 0 to 4 degrees Pisces, the ascendant has a lot to do with your direction in life as well, your path in life. And you might be feeling confused as to where to go, to where you're headed, you know, what you're going to do. You're in a fog, you know, and it's going to, because you're in a fog, it's much easier for others to take advantage of you, become much more sensitive, much more emotional, especially your moon. If it's your moon or ascendant there, in relationship you might be more willing to be used by others, or to be deluded, to let others take advantage of you, or you feel in a much more sacrificial state of mind, where you sacrifice yourself for the needs of the others, and it continues the whole year, this thing. So you might even fall for love triangles, where you're the woman or the man who is left outside, whether it's your sun, ascendant, or moon. You might be the one who said, okay, I love him so much, I love her so much, I don't care, you know, you might think it's a divine love, because Neptune brings those really strongly romantic feelings into your life, which there is almost no grounding and no practicality. So basically you're wearing your rose-colored glasses, you're seeing whatever you want, and you might be taken advantage of. Or in the best case scenario, you become more caring and sensitive and help others, you know. But Neptune can be a bit dissolving, can be make you overly emotional, take you to the heights of ecstasy emotionally, so to speak, especially if it's your moon there, and then bring you down to pits of despair emotionally as well. It's a bit of a roller coaster emotionally, but it can bring very romantic feelings into you. Just be aware that when Neptune is passing, we're a bit overly too romantic, you know, we're a bit overly too dreamy and escapism. We have a tendency for escapism. You might feel like sleeping more, you might be more emotional, your body can be more watery, more susceptible to phlegmatic influences, because Neptune is very phlegmatic, watery planet, so your immune system becomes a bit weaker, a bit more soaked up, you become more emotional, more easily influenced by the emotions of others, but it's more of a psychological process, Neptune. It's not necessary to bring particular events into your life, it's more like a background on which other important events are taking place, like the one I talked about from Saturn and Jupiter that are bringing. But anyway, just a few, you know, it's not many people that have this. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this prognosis, and I'll see you next year.